Hey everybody, John the Other here. As you know, you can probably tell by looking at the screen or listening to me. So there's no need for me to say, anything like obviously. Anyway, I'm going to do a little comment on one of my more recent videos, specifically the one called Nicole Arbour Endorses MGTOW. Now, I'll just say right at the start, Nicole Arbour doesn't endorse MGTOW and has probably never heard of it, and I doubt she's heard of me or seen the video or cares. But the comments thread of that video is filled with irate commenters heaping a huge amount of vitriol and scorn on Nicole Arbour, and some of that vitriol and scorn may be justified. I understand that she was party to a relationship that was dysfunctional or violent, and she was the violent party in that relationship, and there's all kinds of drama that flowed out of that. And I'm not particularly interested, but I do understand that there is some cause for disdain and scorn towards Nicole Arbour. Not that I care, because I don't know her. She doesn't live anywhere near me. We're not friends. I don't subscribe to her. She doesn't subscribe to me, and so on and so forth. But there's a lot of commentary in that video also that's kind of aggressive and nasty, centering around the idea that Nicole Arbour is a slut, that she rode the cock carousel, that she's a user and an exploiter of men, and so on and so forth, and that now she's like approaching the wall, and she's a grotesque hidden behind caked-on makeup, and there's people saying she's a lizard wearing a woman's suit, and so on. And I kind of get the frustration and disdain of many commenters towards her, because we do live in a society where a woman who is reasonably physically well put together can pretty much get away with just about any kind of antisocial behavior that they choose to exhibit, including exploiting and stringing along and manipulating men for their own gain. Riding what is called the cock carousel, skipping from one to the next, with really no serious social consequence. And I understand the frustration, especially in the middle of a narrative in which we are being constantly bombarded with messages saying the exact opposite. The women are hopeless and helpless and oppressed and held down, and that men are patriarchs, blah, 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 right? We all heard that. We all know it's nonsense. And so I do understand the frustration and disdain towards somebody like Nicole Arbour. But here's the thing. That men are exploited and manipulated and used and abused by women like Nicole is not really a question. It's not something that's up for debate. But what is up for debate is why men let this happen. Because if you're in a dysfunctional or exploitive or abusive relationship, and by the way, I'm not trying to put any blame on Nicole Arbour's ex-boyfriend who she, hit or slap or psychologically abused. Stuff happens, so I'm not going to put blame there. But in the larger social context, the fact that there's so many men in my comments thread looking at her and heaping this torrent of scorn on her, I really want to challenge people to examine their own behavior here. Not that you need to stop heaping scorn and abuse on Nicole Arbour. By all means, indulge yourself. I doubt she cares at all, or even notices, because she's not a subscriber to me. But why do you think men are so easy to exploit? Why is it that if one guy says, I've had enough of this, there will be 65 guys piling in the door to take his place and, be exploited and abused and manipulated and used and then thrown away, and then the next guy steps in? Why do you think that happens? The reality is we're living in a society in which women are socialized to believe that they are never at fault. They are never wrong. They are, in fact, victims. They're not really, but they believe they are, because that's the narrative of our culture. And if you believe you're a victim, and you believe that you are part of an oppressed minority, and that the men folk are the bad ones, well then, any behavior on your part is justifiable. Any predation, any aggression, any manipulation, any fuckery. So if you have an entire class of people who grow up with that belief system, why is anybody surprised that you have specimens like Nicole Arbour who leapfrog from one to the next, exploiting and abusing? Now, I don't know if she actually does that, and I don't care at all. The reality is that there's a vast number who do, though. Maybe most of them. So, if you look at them in exhibiting that behavior and you go, oh, they're just evil, then you aren't really examining the context that created those monsters and the men who continue to enable them. Now, I know there's a growing body of, MGTOW guys who are saying, that's it, I'm out. No more dating, no more women, etc., no more marriage, and so on. But for every guy that goes MGTOW, there's 250,000 guys going, pick me, here's my wallet, exploit me. And then by the end of it, they're sad and burned out and used up and living under a bridge, or maybe they put a bullet in their head, and on to the next one. So we are living in a society that creates monsters. It's not that they're naturally evil, it's that our value system, the quote normal value system, turns normal female children into adult monsters. And on the male side, turns normal male children into enabling, compliant cuckolds. You just have to see through it. And when you see a Nicole Arbour exhibiting all that behavior, realize that as a culture, we made her and 50 million more like her. So don't get mad and shout at her unless it makes you feel better to do so. Realize that if you don't want to be abused and exploited, you've got to take responsibility for your side of any social interaction or relationship. Now, there's just one last thing I want to say here. There are guys who are compliant to the system and allow themselves to be exploited, allow themselves to be used and friend-zoned, and, come over and fix my, appliance, and then thanks a lot, bye. And I think I used the term cucks, earlier in this video. It's important for guys who have gone MGTOW or have in other ways taken the red pill, have woken up and have departed this script and have seen through the bullshit. It's important for them to realize that you were a cuck too. You were raised in this society as well. You were born and indoctrinated and taught and made into a compliant blue pill slave before you consciously woke up. What do you expect from the majority of men who are raised in a system that trains them to be compliant blue pill drones? Calling them abusive names, manginas, you need to get past that and see a little bit more deeply. Anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, have a lovely day.